This week on The Startup Life.
My wife, my brother were all partners in the t-shirt lab. When we came back, we strategically chose Orange Mound, to put our business in because that's the neighborhood we grew up in.
Right.
And it was really important to show, individuals in that community that you can be an African-American entrepreneur and succeed.
All right, Startup Nation, so let's take flight with Kelvin Woods, co-founder of the T-Shirt Lab. The Startup Life begins now.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
Hey, Startup Nation. Do you enjoy the startup life? Now you can let the world know with gear from the show. Choose from the Label Yourself, Make Your Own Luck, and Making Money t-shirts to tell your story of your path of entrepreneurship. Click the link in the show notes to purchase. All right, Startup Nation, so I hope you're ready to receive some value today. So I got my good friend, Mr. Kelvin Woods, co-founder of the T-Shirt Lab. What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man?
All right. You ready to pour some knowledge in the Startup Nation today?
Yeah, I'm going to do my best.
All right, let's do it. So let's get this thing started. Tell me about your path to entrepreneurship. What's the story, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So where do I start at? So I'm originally from Memphis.
Okay.
Grew up actually in Orange Mound. Spent a little bit of time in North Memphis. My mom moved there, I think, when we was in about 7th grade.
Okay.
So I got a good opportunity or a chance to really just kind of see the city from, Orange Mound all the way to North Memphis.
For sure.
But went to Cherokee Elementary. Went to
Okay.
Sherwood Middle.
All right.
Was supposed to go to Melrose when I graduated from middle school, but my mom wanted me to go to Overton.
Gotcha.
I love, painting, drawing. I always was a creative person.
Okay.
So I auditioned to go to Overton, got in my 9th grade year. So that's why I spent my high school at, learning to paint and draw. Mm-hmm. And somewhere during that time, a lot of people, love the talent, but they were always, artists are starving, you heard the starving artist.
Yeah.
So it kind of shaped and molded me to start looking at other ways to generate income when it came to art. So that's where the entrepreneur bug was really sparked. I had a real good friend in high school, man, that was always a hustler. Mm-hmm. So I used to watch this cat paint pictures and, go out and sell them. So I talking to him, I was like, dude, are you making some money? He was like, yeah, you can make some money doing it. So I started painting and going out on the weekends, just kind of hustling at the barbershop, selling paintings and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then, quickly transitioned to college and started a magazine company.
Okay.
And that really, sparked the entrepreneur bug as well. Didn't see much success, but it did what it was supposed to do by way of, sparking that entrepreneur bug. And, it's just been history from there. I've always been looking for ways to, create, start my own business and, just live in that entrepreneur space.
I hear that. So you mentioned something about, auditioning and going to Overton and really, vetting out your creative space, as far as drawing and stuff like that. Let me ask you something that's kind of off kilter a little bit. How important are the arts in school?
I think it's very important. Life can be so structured at times where it's, follow this ABC 1, 2, 3 pathway.
Right.
And art really allows you to start thinking outside of the box and maybe break through that structure at times and just be creative and allow the mind to really just, flow. So I think it's very important when it comes to, education and school and things like that. And if you look around today, everything you see has art in it. So it's really no way to exist without incorporating the arts. So I think it's extremely important. And there's a lot of money in this career field, and I know for a fact it's untapped.
For sure. Thank you for sharing that. So, you mentioned your that one of the first entrepreneurial kind of bugs was that magazine piece. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it was kind of around the time Facebook was kicking off.
Okay.
Me and my friend started a magazine called Boss.
Okay.
College magazine. And it was supposed to focus on business, arts, fashion, just the current events that was going on around that time. I went to school in 2005.
Okay.
Went to UT Chat, and my buddy was at Knoxville, which was about an hour, 2 hours away, depending on how fast unless you drive. So we picked my dorm room at Chattanooga to be the launch pad for this magazine. And in college you get refund checks and things like that. And so instead of going out buying, the Jordans and going on all these crazy trips and things like that, we were on eBay looking for a printer. Found a printer, bought the printer, had it dropped off in my dorm room, and we just hit the ground running. I tell people all the time, man, if you would have walked in my dorm room my freshman year, it would have looked like a print shop. We had computers set up everywhere, cords going everywhere. So
What you do when the RA came by?
actually, what's crazy? I was the RA.
Oh, okay. So you had the setup then. I
but
got
I had
you.
a cool, what is it called? You got the RA, then you got the resident assistant.
Yeah,
the resident assistant is the RA. I don't know what the one over
Yeah,
there
like
is.
whoever that person.
Yeah,
like,
so he was
I know
real
what you're
cool,
talking about.
man.
I got you.
He knew I was an entrepreneur. He saw them when they dropped the printer off, and he used to always joke like, "Man, when we graduate, I'm gonna work for you. You're gonna have a job for me." So
Gotcha.
he was real cool.
Gotcha. I hear that. So, Kelvin, tell us a little bit about the T-shirt lab.
Yeah, so the T-shirt lab, we started in 2012.
Okay.
So I went to school for graphic design, and during that process, I started working for FedEx, actually, FedEx Kinko's,
Okay.
in production. So I go in at 10 o'clock at night, man, and I used to work till about 8 in the morning. I used to work third shift. Then I go to school during the day. But I really fell in love with print production, the graphic design aspect behind it. And, as my career kind of started to blossom with FedEx, they started sending me to a lot of sales training. And I went from production to sales to management and things like that. And a lot of the creative side of it really started to get pushed to the back.
Gotcha.
Because I love the print side of it. But then I started moving more towards the corporate side. But I've always fell in love with, graphics and printing and things like that. So I always vowed that one day I would start my own print company. Didn't really necessarily know it was going to be in T-shirts.
Gotcha.
But working in the industry, I used to see a lot of cats come in that printed
sure.
T-shirts and things like that. And, I just asked them a ton of questions. And being on third shift, I had a ton of time to just really research because I ran the store by myself during that time.
Gotcha.
So I get my work done, then I research, and T-shirt printing just used to always pop up. So I started really getting into the industry from the design side, and I hooked up with one of the guys that would come into the print shop, and he would print all the shirts for me, and I'd go sell them on campus, and things like that. So when I was able to afford to get my own equipment, that's what I did, and I launched a T-shirt company in 2012 in Nashville.
Okay, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So, Startup Nation, when we hear about Kelvin and he talks about his time at FedEx, he brings a really good point of how what you can learn from the 9-to-5 job and bring that over to your company. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I think that's a
absolutely.
very important piece to get in there. Let me ask you this, Kelvin, man. What inspires you as an entrepreneur and why?
Several things inspire me, and I think it's really just about what time in life that you are, and what part of the journey you're in your entrepreneur endeavor. So I get inspiration from a lot of things. Currently, I'm getting a lot of inspiration from my family.
Okay.
I have me and my wife. We'll be married in March for up to 10 years.
Congratulations.
Or 10 years in March.
Gotcha.
I said that wrong. I got a 5-year-old daughter.
Okay.
And I'm in the house with 2 girls. So the dependency.
You're outnumbered, man.
Yeah, man. I just bought a dog and it's a boy, so we kind of balancing out a little bit.
No more zone defense for you, huh?
Yeah, but I got two girls in the house that really look at me, to provide for them, and it just does something to me when I wake up in the morning. I'm an early riser. I'm up 4 o'clock. To see them still sleep in the bed, to kiss them and get out the door, and that's always in the back of my mind, watching them lay in the bed and how much they actually depend on me. So
for sure,
my every move is really to make sure that they're okay, because we're at that point in life where it's not about so much me and my wife anymore, but about providing her with the best opportunities possible, making sure that she gets the right schools, making sure that she can participate in the right activities, so that, she can avoid a lot of the pitfalls that we had to go through, at her age. So I draw a lot of inspiration from my family. I draw a lot of inspiration from the guys I employ. These guys, I employ a lot of second chance, disenfranchised guys that they wouldn't get a opportunity in a lot of places, but we bring these guys on, we pay them a decent wage. And I know that if we don't succeed, it's going to be that much harder for these cats to go out and find jobs. And they got families. So I draw inspiration from that. I read a lot of books, man. I listen to podcasts all the time. YouTube, I'm telling you, it is the most underutilized tool in today's society. We're looking at music videos, we're looking at hair tutorials, we're looking at all this stuff. But man, you can literally get a Harvard business degree from the content that's on YouTube. So I'm on YouTube all the time. If you get in my car right now, you can hit 1 and it's gonna be blank. You're gonna hit 2, it's gonna be blank. Because I don't listen to the radio.
Right.
You know, every time I'm plugged in, my car is like a rolling university. So I get inspiration, you know, from a lot of different places. And like I said, it really just depends on what part of life I'm in and what journey of that entrepreneur leg that I'm currently running.
I hear that. It's funny you mentioned that about, you know, YouTube and stuff like that. I have this running joke that, like, you remember Bob Vila, the home improvement guy? Used to be, you know, I feel like if he was around today, he'd be a hack, because like with you know, with YouTube and stuff, like I do like a lot of home improvement stuff to the house. Okay. So I just go on YouTube, man, and just like I broke one of my stairs a few years back, and I just went on YouTube, man, just figure out how to fix it. But you know, you're absolutely right. You know, to entrepreneurship, and we're going to get to that a little bit later. That professional development piece that you get from YouTube is almost invaluable, right?
Yeah,
and you said when you talk about your car being a rolling university, that's big. That's real big, for sure. Thank you for sharing that. But I want to touch on something you mentioned. 2 things, actually. The first one is when you talk about employees. We have a lot of people out here, when they talk about, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a boss, this, that, the other. I got like, you know, 3 people under me, or whatever the case may be, if you watch Office Space ever before, that joke. But talk about the massive responsibility when you talking about employing somebody, because it's one thing to have employees, but it's another thing to where every decision you make in your company can affect not just the employees, but that family's livelihood. Talk about that a little bit, if you would.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to employees, you really have to do a good job of, you know, vetting the individual that you bring on. Because one thing that I found, I used to want it real bad for a lot of people that didn't want it for themselves. So when it's a shared responsibility, it works. But when it's not balanced, it doesn't work. And what I mean by that is, when I bring somebody on board, you know, they have to understand that this is how I provide for my family just as well.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna do everything in my power to commit to you to make sure that every other week you walk away with a paycheck so that you can take care of your family. So on the flip side, I ask that you do the same thing.
Gotcha.
You know, once you print T-shirts, once you're dealing with a customer, once you're answering the phone, answer that or take that. Well, keep in mind that you're doing this for the team. It's not just you as an individual.
I hear that.
So I think we have a great dynamic with the individuals that work here now, to where, you know, they have a genuine interest in seeing me succeed just as well as I have a genuine interest in seeing them succeed. But yeah, you got to be wise with the finances most of the time, you know, or you got to set income aside to make sure that when the rainy day hits, that, you know, you don't have to cut hours, that you don't have to, you know, lay people off and things like that. So, you know, a lot of people see entrepreneurship and they see the building, they see the clientele base, they see that whole piece, but they don't see the backside of it when it comes to, you know, we may be generating income, but a lot of it goes in an account. So when things slow down, we can continue to operate as if, you know, things are still going good, to be able to keep these employees and things like that,
absolutely,
you know, on payroll. So
absolutely,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Okay, and one quick thing before we move right along, you talked about, you know, the people that you employ is kind of like they're like second, you know, you give them a second chance in life. Why is that important to you, Kelvin?
Well, I'm from Orange Mound.
Okay.
And we moved away for about 8 years when I went to college. I was in Chattanooga for 5 years, Nashville for 3. And when we came back, you know, my wife, my brother were our partners in the T-shirt lab. When we came back, we strategically chose Orange Mound, you know, to put our business in, because that's the neighborhood we grew up in.
Right.
And it was really important to show, you know, individuals in that community that you can be an African-American entrepreneur and succeed. So when we came back, I realized that there was a lot of people that needed jobs and things of that nature. And when we got to talking to the community, a lot of them weren't employed because they had made a mistake, either currently or somewhere in their past. And it was hard for them individuals to, you know, find jobs. So I'm a strong believer that if you're going to change the dynamic of a community, you got to first start economically. You know, it's like if you're hungry, you know, I can't talk to you about building a mega business. I need to feed you first, and then we can talk about the other components.
Right.
You know, so these individuals don't have income. They're hungry. You know, they need to pay their bills, need to take care of their family. So we have to address that issue first, and that's getting them employed.
Right.
And then when we get them employed, now we can start talking about some other things that I'm passionate about. You know, the black family. You know, the father being in the home. You know, different things like that. But I got to take care of that first basic need,
for sure,
you know, to get them an income. And now that opens the door. And man, we got some guys here now that's been with us for a few years that you watch that transition from when they started with us. It's not just a job. And that's one of the cool things about it, you know. We're with young business owners, we're all under 35. And we got these guys, some of them are 40, some of them are not the early 20s. But it's such a wide dynamic that we really get to minister to these guys on so many different levels.
I hear that.
So it's pretty cool to watch the transition. So it's extremely important, and everybody has to play their part. You're elevated to a level not to get the notoriety and the fame, but to pull other people up. And then once you pull those other people up, it's a huge responsibility for them now to reach down and start pulling individuals up. And if we all help each other out, you can start seeing some huge change.
I hear that. Thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. I really appreciate that. So let me ask you this, Kelvin. What do you wish you would have known before you started the T-shirt lab?
Oh, wow. I wish I would have. It's so many different things that I wish I would have known. In the minority community, we don't really get a strong education when it comes to financing.
I hear that.
When it comes to credit, how to leverage credit and things of that nature. When I originally started, we did everything out of pocket, which created a lot of hardship for us because we couldn't necessarily afford the right equipment, or we couldn't necessarily go after some of the big jobs. Because you realize once you get to a certain point in business that you're dealing with the city, you're dealing with corporate, you're dealing with schools. These guys are net 30 at best. Sometimes 60 days, 90 days before you get paid.
Right.
So if you don't necessarily have the financial knowledge to set money aside or how to establish credit and things like that, you can't go after some of these projects or get the equipment to really help take the business to the next level. So I wish I would have had more financial education, but that's not an excuse. It's just more so, I think I definitely would have been at a different level at where I'm at right now.
Gotcha.
So that's one of the biggest things. Several other things that, leadership skills. I wish I would have jumped into that a whole lot tougher prior to bringing on employees, things like that, because when it comes to leading an organization, it's different dynamics that you really have to know, different personalities, how to work with different people. And as entrepreneurs, I read a book called The E-Myth, and it talks about, there's 3 individuals working in that entrepreneur. You got the entrepreneur, you got the manager, and then you got that the technician. So the technician is the person that does the work. The manager is the person that manages the systems of the business. Then you got the entrepreneur, which is the wild person that has these crazy ideas, to take the business to the next level.
For sure.
And with all of those people wrapped up in one, now you got this individual employee that's coming in, and the grind never is going to match your grind. But just depending on what type of person they get at that time, it can be a frustrating process if you don't know how to, channel their energy as the manager and manage that employee, channel that energy as the entrepreneur and work with an individual. So things like that, I wish I would have learned a whole lot sooner.
Trying to connect that balance, right?
That balance, absolutely.
For sure. Let me ask you this, Kelvin. What did you learn from the worst boss you've ever had, or best? And you don't have to say names to protect it, infamous or famous, or it doesn't matter.
I'm one type of person that, if I look back over my career, I've been loyal, to companies. It's not one of those things where I bounced around from a lot of different jobs. So when you say, what have I learned from my bosses, or the worst or the good boss, honestly, it's one of those things where it kind of changed. Sometimes they'll be a good boss, sometimes they'll be, not so good. But this one particular individual saw in me that ability to really lead, to be, sales and entrepreneur. And she developed that in me, and she, really pushed me to want to know more about the industry. So I think that's one of the things that I really learned from this particular individual, is just how to look at somebody and develop that, their skills and their abilities, and really push them towards that so that they can maximize their potential. The worst boss, and like I said, I've seen it on so many different levels.
Right.
One of the things that is a challenge is once you're working for an individual that instead of leading from the front, they push from the back. And I never wanted to be that type of person. If I say, hey, we got 100 T-shirt orders, it's going to take 2 hours to print it. I'm not going to give you those expectations if I can't do it myself.
Right.
So I'm always the type of person to say, if I can do it, and I know I'm not that talented, I'm not that smart, anybody can do it.
Gotcha.
So I've always wanted to be the type of leader that leads from the front. We're going to go out and get sales, I'm going to go out and get sales with you, and I'm going to show you that we both can do it. So I think that's one of the lessons that I've also learned from good and bad, because I've seen the opposite side. Go out and do this, and then they go in the office, and then once you pull their card, they can't do the work as well.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge to try to lead people if you can't do it, yourself.
So let me ask you this, man. Like, how do you get the word out about the T-shirt lab? How you let people know you're out here doing the work?
Yeah, so throughout the process of getting the T-shirt lab started, we've done different things. Now we're in a position where we have a little bit more capital to where we can take advantage of, more paid advertising.
For sure.
But I'll be honest, and you know this, the most powerful form of advertising is word of mouth.
Yeah, it's true.
So when I started the
Very
company
true.
in Nashville, I was 24 years old, didn't know anybody really in Nashville, because we had moved from Chattanooga to Nashville to my wife to pursue a career. So when I started the company, I literally, ordered 10,000 business cards and went out, started passing out business cards, hitting networking events. I've always valued, I've always valued getting up early and getting the day started.
Gotcha.
So I get up early, I go to networking events, pass out business cards, do my little elevator spiel. Hey, I'm Kelvin Woods, co-owner of the T-shirt lab. We do XYZ. If you're looking for these services, I would love to connect with you. Get a ton of business cards, go back home, email these people, get a couple orders, go print them, get back up, do the same thing the next day. So really, when it came to marketing and advertising back in that day, it was really just, hitting the ground, running.
Gotcha.
I went through, literally 10,000 business cards a month for the course of 12 months. And that really laid the foundation for us to be kind of where we're at today. Because after doing all of that leg work, we had a lot of clientele, and they would refer us to people, and then they would refer us to people, and it just really continued to snowball.
Gotcha.
So, like I said, but now you'll see us do a lot of Instagram advertising. You'll see Facebook.
Right.
We actually just hired a PR company to really help put the brand out there and things like that. So that's kind of what we're doing today. We can let the money do a little bit more work.
I hear that.
I always say the most powerful form of advertising is going to be word of mouth and getting out there and shaking hands.
For sure.
Developing relationships.
For sure. Gotta let people know you're out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Kelvin, what did you learn from your biggest failure?
Biggest failure. So I think you learn. It's always, you learn in the failures and you learn in the success. Of course, you learn more in the failures than your success. But if I was to pinpoint my biggest failure, it was not thinking I was good enough.
Okay.
At the time when I started the company.
Okay.
So a lot of people don't know, I went to Chattanooga, and I got bit by the entrepreneur bug, so I didn't finish my undergrad career. And being out in the marketplace, knowing that you're surrounded by a lot of people that did finish, got that degree and things like that, sometimes you devalue yourself and your capabilities. So it took me, a couple years to really get over that mindset and realize that, just because these cats got degrees, a lot of these cats are in the same position as you. We're just trying to figure out life and trying to figure out how to go to the next level. So, that was one of the biggest hangups that I had when I first got started, and I wish that I could have got over that mindset a whole lot quicker. But one of the things I learned from that, like I said, was once you really put yourself on an even playing field and you realize that life is a journey. It's just one of those things. You got to learn. You got to value yourself at a high level, and you got to realize that there's a lot of people out there. Everybody's trying to get to the next level. You just got to figure out what that journey looks like for you.
Right.
And because you didn't go the same path that the next person went, doesn't mean that your path is necessarily not the right path.
I hear that.
It's just the journey that you were on. So
Right.
I think that's one of the things I learned from my biggest failures. And if we had time, I probably can go back and reminisce and think of some more.
Gotcha.
It's a constant fail to learn, fail, learn, fail, learn. Business and life is nothing but, elevating yourself from one comfort zone to the next.
For sure. For sure.
And, we're at a position right now at, the T-shirt lab where we're comfortable. We've reached another level of comfort. We got another building, 4,000 square feet, more employees, more equipment.
Right.
But in order for us to go to that next level, you got to get uncomfortable.
Right.
And then once you get uncomfortable for a while, business grows, and then you reach another level of comfort.
I hear that.
So you're just constantly killing the comfort zone just to get to a higher level of comfort. I know that sounds crazy.
No, it makes complete sense. You're absolutely right. That's where the growth is, right? Is in the part of being uncomfortable. So no, thank you for putting that out. Our Startup Nation definitely needs to hear that. So we talked about being in your car, being a rolling university, this, that, and the other. And we talk to different entrepreneurs that talk about professional development, always sharpening the saw. So outside of that, listen to podcasts and YouTube, what else are you doing for those that professional development learning piece?
Yeah, so early on, I used to attend conferences and things like that.
Okay.
And I think one of the biggest things, and people, can sometimes overlook this, but it's really about who you surround yourself with.
I hear that.
Because, I can be in a funk 1 month or a day or a week, but if I'm surrounding myself with people that's always out in the grind and elevating themselves and trying to grow themselves, that day that I may be weak, this person may say something like, hey man, have you heard this? Have you listened to this? I was listening to this today. You should go check that out. So I pull a lot of my, education and continuing development from the individuals that I'm with. Also, whenever I'm, eating lunch, I heard a long time ago, never eat lunch alone. So I'm always, hey, what are you doing? I'm calling somebody, let's grab some lunch. And, I'm sitting with them and I'm asking them, what are you reading right now? What are you listening to right now? I never take a meeting. When we get done, I'm going to ask you, what are you reading right now?
Gotcha.
And that's how I find some of my, my best books. But yeah, continuing education is always key. The mind is always growing. And there's so many distractions in the world today that if you're not intentional about what you're looking at or listening to, you can find yourself going backwards.
Right.
So yeah, I think one of the biggest things is seeing who you surround yourself with. I heard somebody say a while ago that you are the sum total of the 5 people that you hang around with.
I hear that.
And that's income level as well. You wonder why you're making a certain income. Look at the people that you're around, because it's easy to fit into that comfort zone. Oh, I'm doing better than this person. Well, compared to who? So once you start getting in these circles where these cats are making, multi-million dollars and you we're close to that, now you realize, oh crap, first of all, there is potential to get there. Let me ask these people, what do they do to get there? And then, once you exposed to something, it's hard to you can't undo it.
Right.
I used to go when I first started, in business. I used to go to these dealerships and I used to sit in these nice cars. I used to go have you ever heard of Parade of Homes?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's necessarily big here in Memphis, but like in Nashville,
right,
places, Knoxville, places like that, where they have these more of a retirement community. They have these Parade of Homes a lot, and these multi-million-dollar homes that you can go in, walk around, they're decked out, they got the theaters, and once you start exposing yourself to that, it's like the Matrix. Once you know the other side, it's really hard to go back.
Right.
So I always really just, like I said, it goes back to the comfort zone. Just getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of the city sometimes, traveling, going places, seeing what's possible. Because, and that's one of the biggest things when it comes to like in a community, urban communities and things like that.
For sure.
One of the biggest challenges with these kids is they don't have the exposure. Because once you know
so
better,
true.
you do better.
Right.
Before I left off for college, some of the things that I've seen, I didn't even know this stuff was possible.
Right.
But, when I did know it was possible, now I knew what level I can grind at. So I know I'm just kind of all over the place with that.
No,
yeah.
no, not at all.
Hopefully that answers the question.
No, it absolutely answers the question, because I was just having a conversation with somebody. They was talking about the black card and like how we use the black card to like make excuses and this, that, and the other. And it was a black person saying this. And so I was saying that, look, like, I get what you're saying, because she used the idea of her grandfather using that idea to see, like, you can build yourself up from this, that, and the other. And I was like, look, you had your grandfather. I gave the example of my mom, single mom, 2 kids, put herself through school, engineering degree, right?
Absolutely.
But it's like, I told her, like, look, you had your grandfather, I had my mom. We were exposed through that. But my next door neighbor living in Lamar Terrace Projects didn't have that.
Yeah.
Neither on the other side. He didn't have that either. So that exposure piece is super important.
Yeah.
Like you say. And as far as the books that I'm reading currently, it's I'm reading The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Yeah, great book.
But I just finished up The Everything Store, the biography of Jeff Bezos and Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go pick that up as soon as we get done.
For sure, for sure. But let me ask you this, man. You kind of alluded to this a little bit. Some people say entrepreneurs need a formal degree, because when you go to school, networking, this, that, and the other. Some people say they just need a dream and some work ethic. Yeah. Where do you stand on that, man?
I think it's a balance.
Okay.
You're gonna need a little bit of both.
For sure.
And even though I didn't necessarily get an education from a university, I went all the way to junior year.
For sure.
So, I had 3 years of college education to realize that, I didn't necessarily need any more to do what I needed to do. But YouTube was still a form of education.
For sure.
Networking is still a form of education.
It is.
Going out, hitting the pavement is a form of education. So education is always going to be key in order to, take yourself to the next level. However, the challenge is I see a lot of people saying, well, I need to finish my school. I need to take this certification before the action component kicks in. Man, you learn more than to do. So I say, man, education is key, but don't let education hold you back from getting out and go ahead and starting to grind.
I hear that.
Because you will learn a whole lot more. You know, I look at the college professors, and a lot of these college professors have actually worked in the career field that they're teaching, but a lot of them hadn't. You know, a lot of them are teaching, you know, through the books.
Yeah, theory, right?
Theory,
right.
exactly. So, man, the best way to really get educated is to start doing.
I hear that. I try to tell people all the time, entrepreneurship is jumping off a cliff and building the parachute on the way down.
Best way to describe it.
Right,
yeah.
there's no other way to describe it, really. But, you know, you talk about that piece of, like, people sometimes letting education hold them back, this, that, and the other. Do you think that's kind of where people, like, it's a fear mechanism sometimes, where it's like, I got to get this certification, I got to get this degree, I got to get these 3 letters behind my name first. Then, like, okay, then I feel comfortable starting a career. It just feels like, you know, if you keep saying, I got to do this part, you'll never get to that ultimate part in your head, because it'll always be something else. So I'm glad you pointed that out for sure. Last question before we go to break. Oh, real quick. I always say when people who leave college to start a company, like, you just do like what NBA players do. You just you know, turn pro early. That's all that is.
Absolutely.
That's all that is. But real quick, man. Last question before we go to break. What does your average day look like? Be specific as possible.
Average day, be specific. Alrighty. Alarm going off at about 4:30.
Okay.
So I'm up. I'm typically praying, meditating, getting into the Bible.
Okay.
You know, reading a scripture before I leave the house. I'm at the gym by 5:30. Do an hour workout, and then I'm at the shop. I typically here at least 3 hours before the team gets here. I'm setting up, you know, projects, answering emails, things of that nature. And honestly, about 11 o'clock, my day is done.
Gotcha.
And depending on which day of the week it is, I teach over at Crosstown. I do I'm a graphic design instructor at Crosstown 2 times a week. So I go to Crosstown for an hour, you know, teach 9th graders graphic designing. Then I'm back at the shop, you know, tying up loose ends, shaking hands with customers, making sure packages get on the truck. FedEx going out, and also depending on what day of the week it is, after I shut down, I'm headed to church, Bible study, things like that. So I'm there, probably hanging out with buddies afterwards, getting some food, then I'm back at the house. So on average, man, my days are pretty long.
Gotcha.
I'm up at 4:30, and sometimes not down to about 10:30, 11. That's on average. I have some of those days where I'm up at 4:30 and I'm down at 8.
Gotcha.
You know, so it's kind of one of those things. It's balancing, you know, it all out. But you know, my day is very busy.
Gotcha.
And you know, while I'm transitioning between one place to another, that's kind of where I'm getting my education in the car and things like that.
All right, Startup Nation. So I hope you're getting great value from Kelvin's content, but we got to pay some bills. Once again, my name is Dominic Lawson, and you're listening to The Startup Life. If you are a teacher looking for great resources, look no further than our Teaching with Al section of our website. Enjoy great lessons such as our mini lesson for the story of an hour, or dive into the Nixon presidency as part of our legacy series. Enjoy great peace of mind from our units as they are Common Core aligned. Click the link in the show notes to purchase. All right, Startup Nation, so let's continue. So before we head back into the questions, man, Somebody just got an award recently, man. 40 under 40, man. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And when you got the call or the email, how did that make you feel, man? What did you think?
It's pretty cool because this is the third class of 40 under 40 here in Memphis. And, I watched the first two classes, and a lot of those guys are my friends, fellow entrepreneurs, and I watch these cats, and, they're doing some amazing things. So to receive that award and be beside these guys on that platform, it's pretty cool.
For sure.
So when I got the news, I was like, this is, you never really do it for the recognition.
For sure.
It's always about, uplifting the community, finances and things like that. But for people to recognize you along the way, really pours a little bit of gas on what you're doing and let you know, man, you're heading in the right direction. So it's a pretty cool award, and I'm definitely honored to receive it.
Awesome. It's really nice when somebody from outside of yourself and your family sees the work that you're doing and say, we appreciate what you do. So that's always a cool thing.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
For sure. And, real quick, there's been a reoccurring theme here in this episode where you talk about your faith and this, that, and the other. Share that with us. Why is that your faith so important to you?
My faith is really everything to me. Because once you boil it down, entrepreneur life is really lonely. Because a lot of people don't get you. A lot of people don't understand the directions that you're heading in. So in those lonely times, it's not a lot of people that you can talk to. So I find myself, doing a lot of praying, a lot of meditation, and just talking to God about, guiding me in the direction that I need to go in. And early on, I realized that faith and fear can exist in the same place. And that's really one of the principles that I stand on. I got a couple Bible scriptures that's really foundation to me, and that's one of them.
Gotcha.
Faith and fear can't exist in the same place.
Right.
So I just held on to that, man. Whenever I find myself afraid to do something, that's the fear aspect.
I hear that.
And
I hear that.
It takes me out of that position to where I can operate in faith. So I always float towards faith, and it has never failed me. So my spiritual, journey, my faith is huge to me. I'm always praying on a daily basis. I'm always reading the Bible, just really making sure that I'm in line, with what the Word says. And once you're in line with the Word, man, you may not understand it, or you may not, know what direction you're going in, but it always seems to work out. Entrepreneur, man, you eat what you kill. There's no, big savings account, once you start off and things like that. So all of it is a faith walk.
No small loan of $1 million?
No small, nope. It's small, yeah. So, my faith is everything to me, man. And, it's pretty cool. I grew up in a house where my grandmother used to drag us out of the, the house on Sunday and make us go to church. And we in the back of the church, playing, not really paying attention to what's going on. To now being very active in church, and going through that journey of life, and really just coming full circle with where my grandmother was really trying to get us, from day one. And you gotta have some life happen to really understand it. But now, being grounded in my faith and letting that be the foundation for everything that we do. Man, on Fridays, really every day I'm walking in, I'm typically opening up the building. I'm just thanking God for another day, to be able to serve customers and give him the glory ultimately, because that's what it's about. And Fridays, man, when we're shutting down, I'm just, walking around the building, just thanking God, man. Thank you for another week. Thank you, for the ability to be able to operate at this level. And when I'm writing checks, payroll checks, man, that is, you want to know what's a huge blessing to be able to, write payroll checks every other week. And man, it's just really another time for me to reflect on how good God is. Because not only am I able to provide a lifestyle for myself, but here I am writing thousands of dollars, to employees to be able to take care of. And it's just a huge blessing. So yeah, man, always, whenever faith and fear, you find yourself at that crossroad, the natural thing is, and it's just one of those things, life, is a mechanism to preserve life. Fear is, you see something going on over here, you naturally want to retreat, to preserve life, to protect yourself.
Right.
And it's a place for that. But I always tell people, if you're at that crossroads, choose faith. Because it's going to work out. It's definitely going to work out.
I hear that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
I wanted to get that in there because, like I said, it seems like that's part of your entrepreneurial story, and so we wanted you to share that with Startup Nation. So I appreciate that for sure. What's the worst, the best and worst piece of advice you've ever gotten? Give me about business, life, whatever the case may be.
Man, there's a lot of bad advice that floats around. You know, you do get some great advice here and there, but you more so get more bad advice than anything. And honestly, the best advice that I can probably think of right now is observe the masses and do the opposite.
Okay.
Because if you're doing what everybody else doing, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get the same thing that everybody else got. And if that's what you want, that's fine.
Right.
But if you want something different, you really gotta see what the trend is and go against it. And that's why, you know, we talked on that piece, entrepreneurship being very lonely sometimes.
Right.
Is because you're always going in a different direction than, you know, most people. So that's probably one of the best advice I've gotten. Probably one of the worst advice for me, not for everybody, was, you know, go to school, get a good education, get a job so that you can retire. You know, I just wasn't programmed that way.
Right.
I'm a creative, so I've always wanted to operate in that creative space. So that advice put me in a box. And it made me, as we talked about this, but it made me question a lot of the entrepreneurship moves that I was making at the time, because it didn't necessarily line up with the, you know, the information I had been taught my whole life. So that was some bad advice from me when I initially got started.
For sure. No, I can understand that, and it actually reminds me of something I was going to ask earlier. When you talked about entrepreneurship being like that lonely space, if you will, it speaks to a theory that I have that not only is it a lonely space, but entrepreneurship has a language of its own.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about, when, you know, people telling you go to school, this, that, and the other traditional 9 to 5 route, or whatever the case may be, and you talk about, like, you know, being a creative, this, that, and the other. When you start talking them certain words in certain ways, it's like, I don't, like, that does not compute, right? But so it really does speak to, like, you know, it's a different language, and it's you know, it's a language that honestly, even if in your circle of friends that you talked about, you know, they could be entrepreneurs in a totally different space, not even in t-shirts. But when you say certain words and phrases, they instantly know what you're talking about because they speak the language. It's like German, French, Spanish, whatever the case may be. They understand that language instantly. I agree. Right? You know, but when you talk about, like, you know, family and friends who are not in that space, they're like, that don't even make sense.
Yeah, they don't understand it.
No, for sure.
And it freaks them out, man.
For sure. So I'm glad you pointed that out, for sure. What's a popular misconception about business, Kelvin? Well, like, for real, like, seriously though, where do people get this idea? For one, that I always have is, like, you know, it's all like, oh, you a business owner? Oh, you got like a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Like what, on top of that, what are some other ones?
Yeah, and you know, I answer the questions, and I always got to draw from different experiences. I just can't necessarily say, boom, here's the answer.
For sure.
So the first thing that came to mind was my daughter. You know, she's growing up now and I'm gonna answer the question. But
no, for sure.
I think about my daughter. She's growing up in a house where she sees her dad as an entrepreneur. So I'm out every day, hitting the ground, running. You know, you ask her what I do, and you know, she knows Dad is a business owner. Daddy, you know, helps people, XYZ. So she gets to learn from that, you know, perspective early on. So one of the misconceptions from an entrepreneur is, you know, what's the best way to answer this? So one of the misconceptions is that is, for one, is easy.
For sure.
And it's not that because we are, okay, here's where I was going with it. So we're brought up in this household, at least I was, where go to school, get a good education, get a job was all that we were programmed to do. So when it comes time to being an entrepreneur, you know, we take that mindset of an employee into that space, and you can't necessarily operate as a business owner, as an employee mindset.
For sure.
So I say all that to say, you know, my daughter, she's coming up with an entrepreneur mindset, so she'll be able to transition and do business just like that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, one of the hard things was getting rid of that employee mindset and adopting a business owner mindset, which is composed of several different things. First of all, business owner mindset says that you have to do the most, you know, and then get paid. Employee mindset is do as little amount as you can and try to get the most pay as possible.
For sure.
It doesn't work that way in business.
It does not.
Man, I have customers, for instance, we just had a customer that needed some shirts overnighted to Chicago. Hit me up, it's 10 o'clock at night, like, hey, we need these shirts, can you make it happen? Well, employee mindset says, I'm not answering my phone this late, and I'm definitely not getting to the shop that early or paying overtime to make this happen.
Speaking of word, Mr. Woods.
Yeah, man,
Speaking
entrepreneurial
of word.
mindset says, yeah, I'm gonna make this happen because I don't know where this is gonna lead later on. So you always have to go the extra mile, man. And I think I talk to my my guys that I hate saying employees,
Right.
team members.
I
talk to my team
I hear
members all
that.
the time about, you know what I'm saying, your value. And see, most of these guys think that their value comes from the neck down. What can I do physically? I can print all these t-shirts, I can move, I can run, I can jump, I can do all of this stuff physically. But I tell them, you know, from the neck down, at best you $15 an hour. But from the neck up, your pay is unlimited.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because you're using your mind now to generate income. So one of the misconceptions is, you know, always being the best physically. You don't necessarily have to be the best physically, but if you mentally can solve problems, I tell the guys all the time, look, I pay you to solve problems all the time. You know, if you're not solving problems, then you're not necessarily operating at your max capacity.
For sure.
If you got an issue and you come to me and say, hey, Kelvin, how do I, you know, fix this issue? My initial question is, give me two options. Like, you know, what have you thought of? And a lot of times I find that they haven't even thought of an answer. They relying on me. And as long as you relying on other people to solve issues, you're always going to be dependent on that person.
For sure.
So I know that's kind of all over the place, but a couple of the misconceptions is, you know, bringing that employee mindset into business, not going to happen. And then, you know, trying to grind it out physically instead of mentally.
Sure.
Robert Kiyosaki talk about it all the time, like in Rich Dad Poor Dad. He calls it the your financial IQ. You know, whenever you run into a financial issue, you can choose to figure out how to work around that financial issue, or you can succumb to that financial issue.
I hear that.
But the people that figure it out, their financial IQ increases. You know, and it's the same in all aspects of life. Whenever you have an issue, if you figure that thing out, you grow. But if you let that thing control you, or you look to other places to figure it out, then you never really learn. And yeah, you know, money, that's always a big one. You know,
Right.
he's a business owner. He has, you know, because right now we have two stores here in Memphis, and we're looking to expand. So people naturally think, you know what I'm saying, how they making it? The money is good. Well, you know, at this point in the business, most of the money goes back into continuing to grow the business. And you know,
Say that one more time for the cheap seats.
yeah, most of the money goes back into growing the business.
There it is.
Now there's some benefits and there's some perks that come along the way. But really, you gotta continue to sow that seed. You know, it's not really time to eat the harvest right now. You gotta continue to sow, and then one day, you know, I can step away. And it's another one that's real big. You know, most people, man, will go work a job for 40 years of their lives to retire. You know, and that's fine. But it seems like as soon as you get in business, 5 years down the line, you're not making the money that you want. Oh, it's not working, something wrong. Or 10 years, we don't have that long-term mindset like we would do if we was working for a company. You know, it take you 40 years to build up a nest egg so you can walk away and retire. Why do you feel like business is going to be different? You know, you got to put in that time. I'm 6-7 years in now in the t-shirt lab.
Right.
You know, if I would have quit 3-4 years ago, we would have never got to this point.
There it
and
is.
3-4 years ago, you know, things were tough. And even today, we experience difficulties at certain levels. But you got to continue to remember that, you know what I'm saying, it's really a journey. You know, it's a process. You can't quit. You got to continue to push forward, and you'll see those benefits. So there's a couple misconceptions that people have.
I appreciate you.
When it comes to entrepreneurship.
I definitely appreciate you sharing that. You know, you brought up something about your daughter, and I want to kind of get into that a little bit. You know, and what you were explaining is something we talked about earlier, is that exposure piece.
Yeah.
Right? She's being exposed to that entrepreneurial mindset. You know, so let's say, you know, she grows up and she decides that, like, you know, she doesn't necessarily want to be an entrepreneur or take over the t-shirt lab, maybe, you know, this, that, and the other. And maybe she wants to, like, you know, go in the corporate world, this, that, and the other. Do you feel like she can use some of the things that she sees you as an entrepreneur in the corporate world? And what are some of the things you think she maybe can use from in the corporate world?
Yeah, and I have no problem with whatever she chooses to do
For sure.
in life. My goal as a father, or my role as a father, is to make sure that she's prepared
For sure.
for whatever comes. So if she decides to go in the corporate arena, then that's totally fine. And if she decides to go in the corporate arena, you know, I'll send her off to college, do things like that. If she decides to go, went to business for herself, then come work with Daddy. There's no need for us to go,
Right.
college. I'd probably teach you more than you'll learn.
For sure.
At a university. But, oh man, it's night and day, from the things that she is already learning, compared to people that's not growing up in that in an entrepreneur household. Faith has to be the biggest one.
For sure.
Her faith is gonna be solid. From watching Daddy grow a business, from ground zero all the way up. The grind, she sees Daddy getting up early in the morning, and sometimes coming home late and she's sleeping. I'm having to go in and kiss her and wake her up and things like that. So she sees that sacrifice piece. She's also going to, and this is kind of off subject, but it's gonna be whoever she marries, man. When she gets older, he gonna have some huge shoes to fill.
Right.
Because Dad is not playing.
Right.
I'm showing her that. Whatever in life that you want, if you work hard enough, you treat people right, you keep your faith grounded, you can accomplish that. But even little basic stuff like, so my wife has this thing when she picks her up from school.
Okay.
And, as soon as she hops in the car, she's, "Mama, where my snack at?" So my wife will give her a bag of chips, juice, things like that. Well, I rarely get a chance to pick her up just because of my schedule. But whenever I pick her up, same expectation. Daddy, where my snack at? So I give her a bag of chips, and I started doing this thing a while ago where I open the bag of chips and I say, "Hey, baby, you got to pay your taxes." I take a chip and eat it. All right, taxes paid, boom. Give her a bag of chips.
Gotcha.
And for the longest, she didn't think anything of it. But then, I started programming and teaching her. I was like, "Hey, babe, this is how business owners play the game. Check this out. Next time you ask for your snack and I say you got to pay taxes, you say, okay, I will, give me the chips. So after I give you the chips, you eat your chips, and then whatever you have left, you pay taxes on that." If this is making sense.
No, that makes sense.
But she started getting to the point to where, we'll be riding home, she'll eat chips. I'm like, "All right, babe, it's time to pay time to pay taxes."
Right.
And she'll say, "Well, Daddy, all the chips is gone. I ain't got nothing to pay taxes on." And it is very simple, but the difference between employees and business owners is an employee, once you get paid, the first thing that comes out is taxes.
Right.
As a business owner, you are taxed on basically what is left.
Right.
So you play the tax game totally different. And that's why people, talk about President 45, his taxes and things like that. But honestly, the tax game is set up for business owners. It's not really set up as a.
It's true.
Yeah, as an
It's
employee, you get what? Tax breaks on your home and your kids. I think them the only things you can necessarily file.
Right.
As a business owner, it's like what, 20-something, 30-something different tax breaks that you can qualify
and it
from.
seems like even more each year, right?
Yeah. And so just to kind of get back on track, she's learning basic tax foundations from an entrepreneur at the age of 5, at the age of 4, 3. Some of these kids won't learn this stuff until they get to college, if they ever learn it at all. So once you think about growing up in an entrepreneur household and witnessing these things, man, it's gonna be crazy powerful.
Right.
And then she gets in the car, and it's not the bumpity bump. It's she's listening to mindset from some of these guys, man, are legends in the game, and she don't understand none of it. But the subconscious mind is picking up on all of this stuff, and one day she'll be able to draw from that information and this source of knowledge that she's hearing right now when she's 5. So yeah, I think it's dope to watch.
For sure. Well, you think it may be, a little bit off in the answer, but I don't think so, and I'm going to explain why. Because when we talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, I think it leaks into other facets of your life, and so I feel like, when you talk about like, whoever she may marry in the future, this, that, and the other, I feel like she'll be less likely to concede to certain things, or less likely to just accept certain things. Like she may have a higher standard, or guy, or whatever the case may be, and that's because Dad set that standard, like you said, pretty high. So, or even in school, like like, all right, we're gonna make volcanoes or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all the other kids who may necessarily not have an entrepreneur in the household, they just make it like a regular volcano. But no, I don't think your daughter's gonna have like the volcano with like, you know, some type of secondary energy source and this, that, and the other. But I think it speaks to the mindset of like never settling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And so I think with the entrepreneurial mindset, with your daughter seeing this on a regular daily basis, I think she's getting that as well. So no, I totally understand. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
For sure. Let me ask you this. How did you get the idea of the T-shirt lab? Because we're in your wonderful space.
Thank you.
By the way. And I see like the T-shirt lab, and I hear lab, and I see like Einstein quotes, and I see like the guy here with the pouring like the solution and stuff like that. So how did you come up with like that science theme, if you will?
You know, it's just doing a lot of research at the time, and like I said, I went to school for graphic design, so I, sitting in front of my computer, and I knew that I wanted to start a T-shirt company, and just playing around with a whole bunch of names, and then it hit me.
For sure.
T-shirt lab, it's the laboratory. We're gonna manufacture T-shirts and push them out and things like that. And then when I got that word lab, I instantly thought of Einstein. So I started doing research on Einstein and things like that, and just that's kind of where the whole brand came from. Just playing around with different names, and then when I got the name, I wanted to, develop the brand around that.
For
so
sure.
We more so focused on the laboratory piece. And once you think of lab, you instantly think of scientists. You think of, Einstein, legend. So we used him as our mascot, and we had some issues trademarking it, so we had to. It's like the logo you see now is like the third or fourth logo version.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we tweaked it a little bit, played around with it, man, and everything that we do now when it comes to branding is around that whole scientific. Even the lights that you see, like these are the
I see
Edison
that.
bulbs.
For
so
sure,
it kind of plays around with their light.
I like that.
That lab word. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about.
Awesome. So, you mentioned about, your team members, and I love the fact that you call them team members, because it's one of those things where we talk about a lot of kind of a family and this, that, and the other, but it gives them a sense of like being invested in the process. And if they're invested in the process, they're going to have, better output, T-shirts or, customer service or whatever the case may be. So, you talk to this notion a little bit, but what do you dive into it a little bit more as far as like what you look for in a new team member?
Really, man, I look for one thing.
Okay.
And that's the ability not to quit.
Okay.
If you can bring that to the table, I can bring the rest. If you can lock arms with me and say, Kelvin, look, regardless of the circumstances, the situation, I'm down. We gonna make it work. You ain't gotta be the most professional. You ain't gotta be the most educated. You ain't even gotta be the best looking person. That don't matter to me. I don't care about none of that.
Gotcha.
If you bring some determination to the table, I can work with you, man. I've been in business. We've hired several different people, and some in a lot of cases it didn't work out. But I tell people all the time, it's rare that I terminate an employee. You will end up terminating yourself.
I hear that.
And that comes in forms of just kind of giving up. If you give up, man, it's really nothing I can do. But if you always coming to the table, willing to work and willing to stick in there, that's really all I ask. Just come to the table with your 100% and don't give up, and we'll make the rest work.
Okay. Let's shift for a little bit here. Let me ask you this. And I kind of know where you're going to go with this, but I want to kind of hear it from you.
Okay.
Are entrepreneurs obligated to have some type of social aspect, or kind of like lend, commentary to social issues or give back to the community? Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think, first of all, in America, you have the right, freedom of speech.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
The true answer is yes. I feel like, you can speak on social issues. You can speak on any issue that, that you feel necessary to speak on. Now, I do feel like there is a responsibility to make sure that the content that you put out doesn't harm or affect other people, because as an entrepreneur, you think about things on a different level.
For sure.
And some of the issues that go on today, my opinion is totally different from the masses. Well, I necessarily can't put that out, because it affects not only me, but it can affect my team members. You know, if I speak out on a social issue and then revenue slows down, you know, I can't necessarily just think about myself in that moment. So you do have a responsibility to other people to watch, you know, the things that you say and the things that you support. As an entrepreneur. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. Because we hear, when we ask that question, we hear, you know, a lot of different answers. We hear a lot of different answers. We're like, yeah, like you should say something. You taking money from the community, this, that, and the other, and other people say like, I don't know about obligated, but like, you know, if you feel like the need to say something, you know, say something. But so I you know, it works either way.
And I think that, you know, a lot of times you have the big social issues that everybody know about.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
How do you stand on this? How do you stand on that? But in a lot of cases, entrepreneurs fight for issues that you don't even realize is going on. For instance, when I was in Orange Mound, my first shop here in Memphis, ton of social issues, you know, ton of things that was going on that necessarily the masses didn't know about.
Right.
From basic stuff of, you know, the trash service. Like, man, look, we need a consistent, you know, pickup of trash here in the community. Why when I put my trash out, you know, some weeks they get it, some weeks they don't. You know, so we're calling up the city, we're fighting on those issues. And, you know, you see us change in those things, but it's not the most popular topic, so people don't necessarily know about it. Crime. You know, hey, we're business, you know, we need to make sure that this area is patrolled so our customers feel safe coming. So now you see an increase in, you know, patrol officers in the community, or, you know, different things like that. So we're always fighting, you know, in my personal experience, I'm always fighting different issues to make the community better, to change things. And sometimes when you don't speak up on some of the bigger ones, people tend to judge you on that. But you think about that one main issue versus the 100 things that we've already done, you know, I think it balances out. And it can be unfair sometimes for people to, you know, expect you to speak up on every single thing. For sure. And I think one of the biggest challenges too is we in every other community, man, people look to you know, the business owners in the community to really help, you know, change the dynamic of the community or deal with social issues. Right. In the African American community, we look to a lot of athletes who sometimes can be detached from the situations, you know, due to financial reasons and things like that. So, you know, we get disappointed in these people, in these celebrities, and these superstars when they give these answers, and it doesn't necessarily not line up with the way we feel. We understand, you know, these people are completely detached from a lot of the things that we go through. And, you know, that's why you got to really start supporting small businesses and communities and things like that, and really start letting kids see other avenues of success. I hear that. You know, because athletes and things like that is the exception, man. It's great if you got that talent and that ability, but it's a small percentage of people that's going to play in the NFL, that's going to play in the NBA, but everybody can start a business and be successful. For sure. So I know that's kind of all over the place, but I think that, you know, as business owners, you do have responsibilities to speak out on certain issues. Gotcha. And in a lot of cases we do. It's just one of those things, you don't see it all the time. Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Let me ask you this, man. Have you ever had to turn down a client? And if you have a story, share it with us. I don't necessarily have a story, but yeah, I do have to turn down clients. In our industry, man, it's fast paced. You know, I have people that'll call me up on a Friday, so we're closed on the weekends. We're Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. I have somebody call me 3 o'clock on Friday. Hey, I need to get, you know, a couple T-shirts printed for the weekend. Can you help me out? And of course we can. So, and those are the easy turn downs. Like those are the logical ones. Like, I don't have enough time or resources to make this happen for you. Right. But some of the difficult ones is, yeah, you got the time, you got the resources. However, you're just dealing with a difficult person. And, you know, I've gotten real good at identifying, you know, individuals that walk in or email or call, if this is something that we really gonna be able to do. For sure. And it can come in the form of, hey, we need to get a custom design. Okay, no problem. Let's get started. And they tell you one thing and you start working on this design, and then 3 months later you're still working on this project and trying to develop these ideas, and it comes to a point to where you just gotta tell the customer, look, we're not the right person for this particular project.
Right.
It's been this amount of time. You might want to go ahead and start searching, looking for other resources to make this happen.
Gotcha.
Or if somebody rude or disrespectful, I'll tell you, man, it seems like it's one of the most offensive things to do is to turn somebody's money down.
Gotcha.
You want to see somebody get mad, tell that person that you don't want their money. But my team members, man, we come in, we work hard, and everything that we do everything I do is to glorify, God and the kingdom. So, man, if you come in here and you disrespectful and things like that, it's not gonna work out, So I gotta turn those projects down and turn those customers down. And yeah, we've had to do it on several occasions, and people get mad, but man, you can respect the person more for telling you up front, like, this ain't gonna work, than to get down the line and now you in this difficult situation where they're mad, you're mad, and now it's a bad relationship. Let's not even go through that. Let's just agree to disagree.
For sure. So, man, there's a lot of T-shirt companies in this city.
Yeah.
There's a lot, man. When somebody gets something from the T-shirt lab, what are they getting?
I ask my team members all the time, man, what is our product? What is our product? A lot of people, it's T-shirts. No, that's the tangible item that we sell. But what is our product? And I'm always asking myself that too. The product changes. At one point, the product was price. They get affordable T-shirts. At one point, the product was, convenience. They can come in, we can get T-shirts out real quick. But right now, I think that when people purchase from the T-shirt lab, the product that we sell is honestly hope. And I know that doesn't line up with selling T-shirts, but if you knew the journey and you knew the background story and what we do on a daily basis, man, it's really hope. You buy a T-shirt from us, you're not just buying a T-shirt. You're employing, a second chance individual, and you're giving that person hope.
Right.
You're helping a minority business continue to grow and continue to, sow seeds in the community. So that's my product. That's my product that we're selling, but to the customer, the product is always going to be, you're going to get a great quality T-shirt. You're going to have, the experience is big. I'm real big on the experience that a customer has when they come in. We're going to greet you. We're gonna walk you from A to Z through this product. I want you to be comfortable, and I want people to walk out of here knowing that, all right, don't stress about this part no more. The T-shirt part is done. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're playing like a family reunion, different events. There's so many different things going on. Once you come through the T-shirt lab doors, I want you to know that we got this part. You go figure out the other aspects of, your event or whatever it is that you're working for. So peace of mind is one of the products that we sell.
I hear that.
Yeah.
I hear that. Appreciate it. Who are your mentors, Kelvin?
Ooh, man, so many of them. And when people hear mentors, they hear, somebody that you got to sit down with over coffee. Man, I got mentors that don't know I exist.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Les Brown, Eric Thomas.
Mentors from afar, right?
From afar, yeah, absolutely. Grant Cardone, Robert Kiyosaki. Who is the other one, man? Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So these are some of the titans that I listen to on a daily basis. But man, you can learn a little bit from everybody.
For sure.
My pastor is my mentor. We talk on a spiritual level and on a business level. Ton of knowledge. I got friends, man, that I gain knowledge from and can be considered mentors. So yeah, I have several different mentors.
Gotcha. Almost close to wrapping up, man. I believe all entrepreneurs have a superpower. What's yours and why?
Man, superpowers.
Superpower, man.
So, I think my superpower has to be determination.
Okay.
And man, just a bulldog mentality that when I lock on to something, I'm not gonna let it go. We gonna figure it out. We may lose a couple times, but we don't quit till we win.
I hear that.
And man, my team members, they hate it sometimes that I have that mentality.
Gotcha.
But they don't realize that is, like you said, a superpower that really helps you continue to go to the next level.
For sure.
So if you ask a lot of people, man, a lot of people tell you, man, Kelvin is a hard guy. He hard to please, especially the guys that work with me. I tell you, man, I'm a hard dude. And I can agree with that sometimes, but I'm not hard out of the to just to be mean.
For sure.
You
For
know,
sure.
it's because I see the potential, and you may not realize the potential at times. So I have to, be hard on you in that particular moment for you to understand. So,
Right.
yeah, man, I think one of my superpowers could definitely be my determination.
Gotcha. All right, man. So this is the point of the show where, man, if you got like any specials, you just want to promote the T-shirt lab, the floor is yours to do exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do orders, man, pretty much all over. Online,
Okay.
you can contact us. The t-shirtlab.com. It's THETEE shirtlab lab.com. If you're anywhere, we can ship to you. We ship to one location, free of charge to one location.
Okay.
If you're here local, stop by. We have 2 shops, one in Orange Mound, 1314 Airways Blvd, and we also have one at 986 East Brooks Road in Whitehaven. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You come in, you can call. We can definitely take care of you. We do have some pretty cool promotions that we're running right now. We have a small business promotion.
Okay.
That's $195. You get 6 polo shirts, 12 T-shirts, and that's typically for the startup business that doesn't have any apparel, but they want to look professional.
Right.
So that's a pretty affordable, less than $200. You can pretty much get your apparel
sure.
side taken
For
care
sure.
of. We have another promotion that's real popular, which is the $5 T-shirt.
Okay.
It's a white T-shirt, one location print, typically on the front, one color. The T-shirt, the print, is $5. Now you have to order 30 of them, so it comes
sure.
up to right at $150. But for $150, you get 30 T-shirts, to where you can pretty much, go out, promote, give them away, do things like that. But I think one of the things that's unique about the T-shirt lab is our fast turnaround.
Okay.
We can accommodate orders. We can do next day rush. We can do our standard turnaround is 5 to 7 business days, but we can accommodate 3-day orders, 3-day rush orders. So that's the T-shirt lab. We'd love to help you out in any way. If you got a logo, you bring that logo to us. We can pretty much put it on anything. We do embroidery in house. Full service screen printing, promotional products, the whole nine. Outside of that, we have the Mound collection, which we didn't talk a lot about, but that's a project that we launched about 2-3 years ago to help revitalize Orange Mound. And we do that through the sale of T-shirts and hats. The website is the memphiscollection.com. Memphiscollection.com. You can go on there, you can purchase T-shirts, hats, and all of the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds go back to community development. So that's a pretty cool initiative. What else we got going on? I do an art show every year. It's called Black Artists. We do it at the end of February. So we're about to open the website up for auditions, taking on different artists and things like that. It's really a platform that was designed to give minority artists an opportunity for exposure and things like that. We did a show last February. We had over 500 people come out.
Oh, wow.
So it was a real dope experience over at Crosstown. So we're preparing for the next show, February 2019. It'll be that last Friday. So if you're an artist here in the city and you want to be a part of that platform, you can go to blackartist.com, hit the audition tab, and that will bring that up. And you can audition. Or if you just want to come see some dope art by African American artists, lock that date in, you can come out. Outside of that, man, that's pretty much all we got going on.
Okay, all right. And Startup Nation, all that content, website, addresses and everything is there in the show notes for easy access for you to click on and get your shirts made by Kelvin. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
And the T-shirt lab for sure. Any lasting advice for an entrepreneur, man?
Any lasting advice for an entrepreneur? Man, just. I don't know, it sounds cliche, but if you got a goal, if you got a dream that you want to achieve, go for it. Go for it. Just don't focus on the end result. Just focus on the daily grind. What you do, the battle is won daily. You know what I'm saying? It's what you do every second, every minute that counts. Most people set these huge goals like, all right, this is what I'm going to achieve this month. Don't worry about that. What are you going to achieve today?
Sure.
And those days add up to weeks. Those weeks add up to months. They add up to years. So don't get so caught up on the long term. Have a goal, but don't get so caught up on the long term goal. The short term goal is what helps you accomplish the long term goal. So break your day down, man. What are you doing every single day? And if you can conquer each day, you'll conquer each year.
I hear that. I hear that. So that's going to do it for this episode of Startup Life, man. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. You be willing to come back?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, Startup Nation. So here's my final take. When Kelvin talks about his faith in his company, that's a really big piece that's important to him, and I really think that's what drives his success. His faith not only sustains him and keeps his company moving, but he also uses it as a tool to see how he can make his community better than he found it. Whether it be through his art show every February or the fact that he talks about, giving people that he employs a second chance in their life. And on top of adding new stores and generating revenue in his company, I think that's what makes Kelvin a successful entrepreneur. If you want to let us know what you think about the show, have an idea for a show topic, or would like to advertise on our show, send us a message on the Startup Life Podcast Facebook page. And while you are there, like and follow our page as well. It's a new way for us to engage with you, Startup Nation, and really grow our community. The link is here in the show notes. To subscribe to the show, as it can now be heard on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and SoundCloud. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you find our content valuable, please give us a 5-star rating, as it will help us climb the charts and help more people find our show. And hey, if you have an idea, be about that life, the startup life.